Hello, hello, my dear friends, you've reached Elena's bar. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. She'll help improve your fitness, but there's also so much more. 'Cause here are just a few things that this channel has in store. There's Barre and there's Pilates and there's belly dancing too. And many styles of yoga, so I'm sure there's one for you. Then watch her practice pianist stream from right within her home. She's in such big condition, she'll outrun the metronome. Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre. They're the best place on the internet, the very best by far. It's not just the piano, but the ukulele too. The guitar and violin are even more that she can do. She does so many different things, it's hard not to lose track. I nearly didn't mention that she posts on her Substack. Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. Yet controversial topics may be brought up for discussion, but try not to provoke her or she'll swear at you in Russian. And sometimes certain topics can make quite a big impression. So remember, you take part at your own risk and your discretion. Yeah, Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. You might even meet Elena if you're quite a loyal fan. She's got a fixed male cat, but she's so desperate for a man. We've really got it all, then you couldn't ask for more. So sit right back and watch Elena shave a 3 or 4. Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre. The best place on the internet, the very best by far.
Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Great to see you. The Resurgence of Sanity, guys, Steve and Nick. And today we have my brother-in-law here. Hi, David. How are you doing, guys?
Doing great.
Doing great. Okay, guys, today we are going to have a lot of fun. I know that
Does that every Saturday morning. So
yes,
don't let
but
it
this is fun for real. Like, it is fun for real. Like, last show, I was like, okay, guys, you were picking on me, you know. I agree, I needed it, but, you know, I wasn't always feeling great during the show. But this time, I feel like we are going to have a lot of fun for real. And David is going to tell us. David, I hear Threadcons are saying to men that men have obviously so many options out there. Like, there are so many women available for them on the dating apps and in church and everywhere, right? And men are supposed to wife up these women. So tell us, what is it to be on the dating market there?
Oh, well, there are options.
Okay.
I'm not making the claim that they're all good options.
Right.
That's an important caveat.
Yes. I remember a saying that was, let's put it this way, it was often said about women who were going to colleges that were specifically engineering schools. I heard this said a few times back when I was like in college, because I was near one of those. I wasn't actually in one, but I was near one. And so there were people who went back and forth. And so I just heard the saying, what was it? The odds are good, but the goods are odd. And they were saying that about the guys. It was like, there's going to be a ton of guys in the engineering school, but they're all going to be weird. I'm like, yeah, because it's a bunch of guys who probably got diagnosed with autism.
Yeah. Well,
you know what? I'm an engineer, so I'm laughing at that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not necessarily autistic. Okay, maybe they get in that direction, but they're very intellectual, very analytical, and they're not swayed by emotion that much. They don't. They're just so different that it's hard for average women to relate to guys like that. and they're, wicked smart. You have to be in engineering.
Oh yeah.
And it's just beyond what most women can deal with or want.
Yeah, well, knowing what I know now, that most of the women who were saying that oftentimes were it's like with the big push to get women into STEM and all that, that most of these women wouldn't necessarily be interested in it, but they were told that they should be. And so they got into those fields, into these, these universities that used to be probably 99% male.
Mm-hmm.
And the university leadership was trying to get a DEI grant, so they needed to change that percentage. And the women going in probably wouldn't normally have been that interested in it, but they got some sort of bonus, or they were told they believed some hype or marketing scheme or something, and went there and met these guys and were like, I really just wanted to meet a guy to settle down with who would take care of me. This guy's talking about, the how to engineer a bridge in his spare time or something like that. And they don't quite know what to do with that because it's so object oriented, not people oriented, that it's out of their lexicon.
He's so boring.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Like, well, men are supposed to
You can
notice.
never bore a woman. You can never bore a woman. That's like
Yeah.
it doesn't
They're
work.
gonna go
out.
out.
Notice how they want men to keep constantly entertaining them. I think you guys on the Resurgence of Sanity did a show about dancing monkeys. Do you remember that show, Steve? Yeah.
Yeah.
How men are
that was an old meme in the manosphere. There was the faction, kind of the autistic faction. If you're going to use game to get and keep a woman, it's a 24/7 job.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're performing for her. So it's like dance, monkey, dance
Mm-hmm.
to keep her entertained. So it's a little bit different than dancing monkeys. You have a different,
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember. Yeah.
something dancing monkeys is different than telling the man dance monkey dance,
monkeys.
keep her entertained.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
generally right.
Yeah, it was a great show, guys. I recommend you to watch it. Yeah, but this is what men are being viewed today by a lot of women, because women can get everything by themselves. They believe they don't need a man. They just want a man, so they can want whatever man they want, who will entertain them. And then they get fed up with that entertainment. They will need another entertainment, and it's a never-ending cycle.
Entertainment to entertainment.
Yeah.
Meaning from, we're 8 minutes in, dick to dick to dick.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
They're on their adventure
Mm-hmm.
to find themselves.
Well,
It's a
because
journey.
they don't want to settle. They don't want to do the hard work. They don't want to settle down with one man. And look, to a feminist mindset, sacrificing all of your friends, sacrificing all of your prior activities that she's been doing for one man, so that she would stay with one man. It's imprisonment, guys. It's abuse, right? She doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to sacrifice it.
There's no satisfying the modern woman who has all these options, and there's no village or society to restrain a woman, but in fact say, no, you can be on social media. You do all these things, and you can go to all these activities. They make up all these different things that they can do. And then 30 years old hits and like, why can't I find a guy to settle down with me and have kids? Like, I can't fund your fucking lifestyle.
Yeah.
Nick,
I can't
now,
compete.
now I know.
You're going to get bored and get the fuck out.
Now
Eventually,
I know.
yeah.
why you're so widely criticized. You expect a woman to give up her options just to be with you. How cruel, how controlling. I mean, do you think you're that great that she needs to give up her options?
I don't
That's
give a shit. She
pretty
can
much
get rid
what
of
they
her
think.
options, or she can get the fuck out the door.
I 100% agree with you, Nick, but it's like
I don't care if it hurts their feelings. Fuck them.
how they think and view men today. It's just crazy. They are so broken. They're so broken. I keep saying, and I keep getting women being mad at me for telling them that, look, ladies, you are delusional. Like there is like nothing, and nobody can fix you. Delusional people are broken people. So and then they have demands. Oh my goodness, they have demands, guys. And then they expect a high quality man to take them with all of their baggage, all of their insanity,
And their children.
and their children. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, David, tell us a little bit about yourself. You are a mechanical engineer too, right?
No, just a mechanic.
Oh, you're just a mechanic. Okay.
My
And
actual training is a 4-year degree in history, but that's about it.
wow. Well, yeah, we had David before, guys. We were talking about cults and history a while ago. It was a very interesting show, so you can watch it after this one. And tell us, how do women view the mechanics?
Well, one thing I noticed that if I put is say in a dating app profile that I was an automotive technician, which is sort of the fancy way of saying you're a mechanic.
Okay, automotive technician. Mm-hmm.
The response rate was near zero. When I sort of took over a managerial position, and I mean, I'm still a tech. I can still go and turn wrenches, but and I was this week. But when you put that in, your response rate goes up. I don't know, about from 0 to, or what do I want to say, 0.001 to 0.003.
Okay.
And then when they ask you what you do for a living, and you tell them, well, I manage an auto repair shop, then they just, they disappear.
Oh, they're not interested in men who are actually fixing things.
No, but it's sort of like, I kind of relate it to, well, yes, that is a big part of it. I relate it to the Hindu caste system. Mechanics are kind of the untouchables who do all sorts of stuff that is dirty and gross that people don't want to deal with, but because they deal with it, you'd have no association with them.
So it's like garbage man and plumber.
Yeah, pretty much. If I have to handle, if anyone has to handle crap in any form, and I do, because I have to deal with rodent-infested cars all the time, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, I don't want to deal with you.
Yeah. Well, it's also this global market with the social media where they can just show off, and we will get into the profiles. David actually shared with us a few fragments from some of the profiles, guys. The options that men have today on the dating apps. Okay, so we will get into them. With the exposure of social media, they can get the best guys they can get. With the most clout, the ones that are socially acceptable, socially approved, socially accepted guys. If they don't like one, they can replace him with another one.
Well, and I mean, I'm in an area where there's a lot of tech.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys are the dream because they've got the 6-figure salary. Yeah, some of them might be a bit weird, but because they're software developers. But there's other ones who are, they're a manager and they've got a $250,000 a year salary minimum at one of the tech companies that has offices here. and
resources.
Exactly. So the other part of being a mechanic is you don't make a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not have a 6-figure salary for these women to leech off of. So they look at me like, nope.
Well, those tech guys are not any better at
Oh no, I've met them. I know.
They got money. They're just as analytically minded and weird and talking about stuff that women don't care about. But they got money, so a woman can delude herself. I'll put up with that because he's got money. That doesn't make a better man, a better husband, anything better, except he's got more money.
So, David, do these men have women around them? Are they married or are they dating?
I mean, I've heard a number of stories. I don't know a ton of them. My main interaction with them most of the time is there's, playing rec league hockey, and there are guys who come from Amazon or other tech companies. And I remember one of them, I'm like, I don't think he might have had a girlfriend or something while he was playing with us, but this guy was just, I don't know how she would have put up with him. Like, it wasn't that he was an engineer type. He was very much, how do I describe him? A Chad. Yeah, like he kind of had that persona. I don't think that was really that came natural to him. I think that was a put on persona, and he made quite a bit of money. I watched someone try to poach him, and a $250,000 salary did not sway this guy. So whatever he was getting was more. And he eventually quit the team because he wanted, he had a kind of outsized perception of his skill level. Let's put it that way.
Oh, so he had kind of a finance bro vibe.
A little bit, yeah. And he was trying to play goalie and he wasn't very good at it. So he eventually got kicked off the team. But he said some stuff in the locker room that I'm like, dude, I could never get away with that. Like some of the jokes he said, some of the other stuff, I'm like, I would be judged way more harshly if I said something like that than you would by women. And it was something that was degrading to women, at least one time.
Oh yeah, that's what I got canceled for this week.
Yeah, Nick, you always get kicked out from somewhere. Oh, jeez, troublemaker. Okay. Yeah, David, I had a question for you. So, would women consider the looks, how they say a man is supposed to look good with a six-pack abs, in practice, based on the people that you've interacted with and these guys who are making a lot of money being in the automotive engineering field, right? What has been your observation?
I think the lower on the economic totem pole you are, the better looking you have to be.
And to
And
compensate, right?
yeah, and the problem is that that's not the way the actual relationship works.
True.
The expectation is that following that curve is that, if a guy's poor to a woman, he better be outstandingly good looking. But the thing is that most of the guys who are poor aren't really, most of them are not going to be that good looking.
Well, yeah, because they don't have the money to take care of their physique and
yeah, no. Oh. Did we lose Elena?
Sorry, guys, my computer is dying, and my husband promised.
Elena is such a hot woman that she overheats her camera frequently.
Yeah, I get very passionate, guys. I can feel like the vibes coming out. Okay. Well, do you have any more questions, guys, for David?
Well, we're going to get into some screenshots. I mean, he's out on the dating market, seeing what's out there, and that's what this this topic is about. What's the title of our show again?
Why do men choose to stay single today?
No, that's not what you posted.
Well,
Something
yeah,
about dating.
it's the title for the video, but women on the dating apps.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's get into it. I'm going to share with you one profile at a time. Okay. Nice. Yes, I'm looking for this beautiful Russian princess. Oh, geez. Good luck with that. Okay, let's. Yeah, guys, if you have comments or questions for the panel here, drop the comments. Okay, we will bring them up here. Okay, so yeah, let's get into it, guys. I'm sharing this one. Okay, David, what did you think about this girl who shared this? Dating a Sagittarius. Need I say more?
My answer to that statement, need I say more, is yes, you do need to say more, because I don't even really know what that is.
Oh, what Sagittarius is.
I don't want to know. I know what astrology is, so I knew what that was,
Yeah.
and that's why I screenshotted it. But like, this doesn't tell me anything because I don't follow this. I don't believe in it. I don't care about it. In fact, it is one of the biggest like red flags for me. If someone makes, you know, a woman says that, like, trying to boil down her personality to, you know, a star sign is horrendously just repulsive to me. And I'm looking at her profile, and I'm looking through this because, you know, I'm looking for a Christian woman, and I'm like, okay, so your major component of your personality is an astrological star sign, and you're claiming to be looking for a Christian guy. I'm very skeptical here.
Yeah, I would be too. I mean, like, seriously, what do they expect? Wow.
Okay. I don't know anything about astrology, but just from the tone here, she's saying, that shit crazy, but I'm crazy in bed.
Probably, yeah.
Probably that.
And
yeah.
you're going to need to put up with me, but man, yeah, I'm full of myself too.
Yeah, but she might have a lot of tattoos and piercings. She might have that bull ring.
Oh, yeah, Sagittarius.
And not all the time. But, nah, it kind of follows that trend.
I mean, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. It does happen a lot that I see one of those things.
Okay, guys, I just Googled. Sagittarius women, known for their fire sign energy, are often described as optimistic, look here, adventurous, free-spirited, with a love for travel. So you were supposed to fund your fancy lifestyle and your trips with your girlfriends. Okay, then what else? Knowledge. Okay, I guess it takes a lot of wisdom to know about astrology and all of the signs. And good laugh. Okay.
I think I nailed it.
You did, yes, you did. They're also known for their honesty, directness, and strong sense of justice.
I'm out.
In other words, she's going to tell you what's right and wrong, and you're expected to abide by that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Needless to say, I hit that X button down in the bottom left corner on this one.
Yeah. So what do you do with them when you like don't like them? You just ignore them, right?
Well, there is actually, you can just skip past a person. So if in the picture, that screenshot, you can actually see the button you push. It's that X.
X,
bottom
like
left corner.
leave.
And that you just skip past them.
Okay. Well, guys, just to clarify, these are the profiles that are available on which platform is it?
Hinge.
Hinge. Okay. Okay.
So this isn't Tinder where you're swiping left or right. This is just you get a profile into just sort of like I don't know exactly. You don't see the next one. It's just you get the profile, you hit X, or you hit like the little heart button on a certain thing, and it brings up a prompt where you can comment on something. And so, like, you know, you see someone, they put in their this prompt, dating me is like, and then they'd say something. And by the way, that particular prompt I've seen some stuff in that where I'm like, no, this is a tame example of that particular prompt. But you can comment on it, and there's a lot of times in some of these profiles where they say something in the prompt and it's not anything that you could necessarily respond to. So it's like, okay, how do I comment on this? I don't know. It's a closed loop.
Oh.
You know, there's nothing to really say about it.
So you can't comment on your.
Yeah, because the whole thing about like what I will give Hinge some props is that they're in the design. There is something where you can comment and sort of try and build, like the idea behind it is a good idea. It's just in practice, there's so many of these profiles that I'm going through. I'm like, these women do not know how to make themselves interesting in a way where I can start to present myself in an interesting way.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
There's nothing to hook on to.
Yeah.
And so, like, what, you know, a dating a Sagittarius, what am I going to do to respond to that? You know, need I say more? I don't know what you're talking about. So what am I going to do to lead into that?
Yeah. Okay, Franklin Aladi, who wants to respond to this question? Why is it hard for the West to make adjustment on their marriage when they all keep complaining about the decline in marriage and nuclear family?
Well, let me first of all say, why is it so hard for the West? Have you seen what's going on in China? Have you seen the birth rate and the marriage rate in South Korea and Japan? And, okay, well, Russia probably has its problems. They're not in the West. Yeah, Italy is just basket case. Yeah, they're West. Eastern Europe, well, they're not really Western, but they're having their problems. It is all encompassing. It's not just the West.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, worldwide, no one is making adjustments. They're trying to incentivize women and appeal to women to have kids, not to get married, not to be good wives, just to have more children, because all governments are behind the scenes, and some overtly, just really worried about the declining birth rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On our last show on Resurgence of Sanity, very controversial. I tried to be. It's just entitled Equality. And the premise is the problem is equality. And that's worldwide. When women are promoted to be equal to men, it creates a lot of societal problems. Now, feel free to disagree with me. Watch the show. Criticize me. Tell me some other solution. I'm all ears, because I don't want that to be the solution, but it's what I came to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a problem worldwide. Go ahead, Nick.
I got a work assignment from my project. I gotta head out, guys.
Okay, take care, Nick. Great to see you. Okay, have fun. Bye. Okay, guys, we are moving on to the next profile here. What is this? Have a sexy coffee order.
Okay, so I actually this is one that gave me pause, but the rest of the profile was fine.
Oh, okay.
For the most part, at least what I could tell. It just seemed kind of like something someone 25 years old would kind of probably say, thinking that this is some interesting thing, because she's still fairly young. I know we probably wouldn't necessarily consider 25 that young, but it's,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this going, again, it's what does this mean? What is a quote unquote sexy coffee order? I don't know the standards here.
Like,
And
are you supposed to deliver her coffee in a sexy clothes or?
no, well, the way I took this to mean is that if, because this is a fairly common thing nowadays, is that you've got your coffee order, the thing you walk up to a barista with, and what she's trying to compare to is your order interesting in a way that I like, I find appealing, I find quote unquote sexy. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not a coffee person, which is hilarious considering where I live. It took me until, this year, more than 3 decades into my life, before I actually started drinking coffee regularly. And so I don't have this culture of like having a very, very fancy order that is very particular to me, and I have to have it exactly correct. Otherwise, it's just not, like, I don't want it. And so I'm looking at this going,
if you took her on a coffee date and you went up and you ordered large coffee, black,
I probably would too.
Well, your order is not sexy, David. Just black straight coffee. Who drinks black straight coffee, right?
Make it bitter because I need the caffeine, and I can make the joke that it's just like, I don't do this because it's cool. I do this because I need some amount of caffeine to have some energy right now.
Yeah.
About the fanciest I will get is like just a basic, no weird milk or anything like that. Just basic mocha. That's
you know what, guys? I recently started drinking. I'm not a coffee person. I can probably drink it maybe once a week, or even like once a month or so. And I started enjoying just dark, straight dark coffee. I might add some collagen to it because it kind of dehydrates you, But that's about it. I don't add any milk. I used to drink coffee with milk, but not anymore. And then when we were visiting your parents, David, on Sunday, I really enjoyed that glass of whiskey. I used to love wine, and I would be drinking like lots of wine. Well, I mean, within reasonable means, right? But a few glasses of wine, and then you just take a small shot of whiskey, and then,
That's all you need.
That's all you need, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, young women, they will have to learn also probably the hard way too, because there is a lot of information that is misleading them, especially if they are following the popular trends, the older women who are setting the rules for them right now. And they will think that it's cute, that they have these demands, that they have these delusions and entitlement, that they are so hyper emotional.
The thing that I find it's fascinating but also depressing is that a person can have the demands on the world around them. So a woman having demands on the guys around them, but in general, just sort of an expectation of what their local reality that they experience day to day must be. But if anyone comes in and says, okay, yes, but I have my own expectations too, and those affect their little reality that they created around themselves, all of a sudden, that's a massive problem.
Well, because men are not supposed to have any expectations in the feminist mind. Men are supposed to be slaves. You're supposed to do as you're being told, right?
Yeah, I opened up my phone this morning to X, and I don't follow this person, but it was a story that I saved, and I'm like, this is the kind of energy I'm looking for. And I mean, it may be someone that people in here may have seen as well, but it's just a woman telling a story that her husband's cousin was staying with them. And when she went running to her husband to welcome him home with a hug, kiss, and a hot mug of coffee, the cousin informed her that they had been married for 15 years, this woman and her husband, not the cousin, and that she shouldn't still be acting this way. And I'm looking at it like, what is up with that?
Is this a woman cousin or a male cousin?
It's described as a female cousin.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, cousin staying over, and she sees her male cousin and the wife of this guy having what used to be a fairly normal interaction. Mm-hmm. Just a small daily thing that it just signifies, yes, we are in a good relationship right now because we can do small things that are supportive of each other. And I'm going to walk into that and say, you've been together 15 years. You shouldn't be doing that anymore. That is young love stuff. You shouldn't be doing that after 15 years, because that's the expectation. It's like they've been told that the reality of marriage for the woman is that the longer you're in it, the more depressed you should be, the more the more separated you should be, because you've been in this binding contract essentially that has stripped you of your options.
Do you know what? Women have a label for that kind of behavior.
Homewrecker?
No. She's a pick-me.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, the feminists came up with this one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a woman, it's basically, there is this animosity towards a woman just working to please a man. No, don't do that. You're being subservient to him. He should be pleasing you. Don't make him happy. It's innate rebellion against being, I don't know, serving somebody. Yet these same women will go to their job and they'll listen to what their boss says. He's in authority over her. Okay, that's just reality. But then when they come home, oh no, you can't serve a man. You can't let him make the decisions. You're an equal partner. Yeah. Are you a partner to your boss at work? If you find a man, shouldn't you give that man that you are in a relationship with more respect than your boss?
Mm-hmm.
You're delusional if you don't think that. But yeah, women do not like seeing other women submitting to a man. It just irritates them.
It irritates them, and it contradicts everything that they've been brainwashed. It contradicts the whole feminist propaganda. They have sunk cost fallacy, because they've been indoctrinated with this BS since they were born, right? And now somebody challenges it just by existing. These women who choose to be compliant, who choose to respect and love their husbands, choose to be loyal for their husbands, right? They are contradicting everything that these girls have been taught. Yeah. Franklin Aladi also wrote here, what I have noticed in the modern dating scene is that most women never prioritize marriage, but they live for the party on their wedding day. Yeah.
I see that as sort of like it's a result of the media culture that we've had, particularly in the West, but the stereotypical, what do you want to say, romantic comedy movie shows a whole bunch of various scenarios leading up to, and they almost always end on the wedding day. So that's seen as the end of the movie. And when you have a bunch of, average women, and some guys do this too. I've seen some guys who've done this too, but it's they base their expectations off of the media that they consume. And so when the media is reflecting to them what they should have, particularly the women will look at that and go, okay, well, the story ends at the wedding.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
And I don't need to worry about anything that happens after that. So we've had that for, as long as I can remember. This goes back into the 80s, I'm sure. But it was particularly, I noticed it the most when I was a teenager, because I could see, as I'm growing up and getting out of the house more as a teenager, going to high school, and I'm seeing more and more, young women my age and hearing what they talk about. I just started noticing that most of them were reflecting what they consumed.
Oh, totally.
On TV, in movies. Back then, we didn't really have a ton of social media. That wasn't until I was in college, but there's a little bit of that, some stuff on the internet. And, but it was really weird to me. It was just like, okay, so you're basing everything that you expect, and sometimes even your whole personality, on fiction. That's not good, because most of them were not prepared for what an actual marriage is like.
Yeah. Well, and then they go to school, they go to college, there they get the indoctrination that brainwashes them and tells them that they need to be strong and independent. They shouldn't rely on men, right? Men are evil.
Oh yeah. I didn't see it. This is before I went to college, but when I went to college, that I did see that.
Yeah. You combine. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was annoyed the women's studies department was in the same building as the history department at my school, because I had to walk past it every day just to get to classes. And I'm looking at some of these stuff that people are putting out in that particular world, and I'm like, this isn't reality, people. This isn't the way people should, but also used to work on, used to work their lives around. And it's completely disconnected from the real world. But they believed it.
Well, because it's everywhere. It's very hard to resist when it's everywhere.
Hey,
I mean, David, I understand what they're going through. Go ahead.
David, do you know what standpoint theory is?
It's ringing a bell, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. So women's studies, they like history, right? Where they they reimagine history. Okay, so they reimagine history and they look at it from standpoint theory, from the standpoint of the woman in history, which the details might not be there because it was all written by these evil patriarchs from a man's perspective. So how can we know anything if history is all from a man's perspective? Okay, so standpoint theory, it's all based, everything a woman looks at is based on where she is, her own experience, her modern experience. So she learns a few things about history, and she puts herself with her modern experience and beliefs back in those days and reimagines what was going on. Okay, so here's the issue. women are not real good at abstract thinking. What is abstract thinking? Well, I can look at something, pick any topic. I can look at it from my perspective. I can look at it from the US perspective. I can look at it from the Russian perspective. I can look at it from the Chinese perspective. Each one has different motivations and goals in they're looking for a different thing. Or I can look at it from God's perspective. So I can take all these different perspectives, and I personally can disagree with someone from China about what they're doing, but yet I can put myself in their shoes, or what I imagine their shoes are, and look at it from that standpoint. That's a matter, and that's important for history people who study history. You can't look at it from your own perspective. You have to consider, what were they thinking at the time that history was going on? And they made different choices based on their reality at the time, which is different than my reality. That's abstract thinking. And women are not very good at abstract thinking. It's all about their emotions and their experience. So if they can't haven't experienced something, they really can't understand what it is. That's why women can't understand men, because they have no experience of being a man.
Yeah, and you know, speaking from my experience in the history of, I had some good teachers there. I mean, it's changed now. I heard some stories about some of the stuff that happened in the department after I graduated. But while I was there, there was a set of teachers who were hired specifically because they were truth oriented, not perspective oriented.
Mm.
And so they, like, I'm, you know, a woman professor who eventually became my faculty mentor, and we got along great, but it turned out later that was because we had almost the same personality archetype. So we saw the world very similarly, and we could get along on that, you know, thing, even if we didn't necessarily agree on everything. When she walked into the first class I had her with, she said, "I am not here to teach you my perspective. That is not my job, to make you think like me." And I'm like, okay, I can respect you.
Yeah.
Because she was far more interested in actually teaching real things that actually happened in history without putting her perspective into it. Now, that is a, you know, what do you want to say, 0.01% person. That doesn't happen very often. And so that's why I'm like, okay, no. I'm going to try and learn from you what I can. There were other teachers there who I found absolutely terrible, but they had been hired from a previous, you know, administration that had left. When I graduated a couple years later, she left. A number of other teachers did as well, and then a guy came in who was woke as all get out, from what I've heard, and that has completely reversed, which I'm very disappointed in. But this is, you know, it's a thing that if you look at history in particular, but many other things, especially in the humanities fields, with the perspective that I am an agent in this moment in time, and you're looking at something, you know, 500 years ago, how can you even think that? Because you don't know what it was like then. You're not experiencing, you didn't grow up in that context. But I've met people who they viewed life that way, and we were taught while I was there, you can't do that. It's not what good history is. It's you know, it's based off of essentially an anachronism. The idea that you are out of the time, so you can't be a part of it. You can look at it, you can observe the facts that are presented to you, but you have to establish the truth of them, any biases or limitations in them. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to write good history. And I met some people there who they could not figure this out. They did not understand that you had to take yourself out of the equation. They have been told their whole lives, put yourself in this person's shoes. It's an empathic understanding of history, not a objective understanding of history.
Well, David, I actually have a question for you. So in psychology, when I was studying psychology in college, we actually were running some experiments where we would try to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes just to see how that person is feeling, right? So many women today, they are proclaiming themselves of being empathetic and kind and nice and have this beautiful soul, and yet they refuse to put themselves in the man's shoes.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I've seen that all the time. And the thing is that when I see someone, so when I see a young woman who is saying, I am empathetic, I have high emotional intelligence, and I want that in a guy, I know that that is not true. What I know is that they have a very poor understanding of what emotional intelligence actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And they are right to seek it in a guy. But the thing that they don't understand, or the thing that they believe that is wrong, is that all guys have low emotional intelligence from their understanding of it.
Well, I've come to a unique understanding of this phenomenon. Women who claim, well, pretty much all women claim to have empathy. You got to go to the 11th commandment and understand that. Thou shalt not hurt the feelings of a woman. Oh, that's right there. So, in understanding another woman, if I was her, I wouldn't want my feelings hurt.
Okay,
Therefore,
I see.
So, in order to not hurt her feelings, I have to placate and pander and say, oh, yes, he was such a bad man, or oh, yes, I understand. No, it doesn't mean truth telling. There is no concept that, gee, in this woman's shoes, she needs to hear the truth.
Mm-hmm.
No. She needs to not have her feelings hurt.
Yeah. Well, nice.
That's emotional intelligence, not hurting someone else's feelings.
Yeah. And look, Nice has been very active here in the chat. And Franklin Aladi, we will get to your other comment. I really want to address that one too. They have too much demand in their favor of fake demand because guys give them attention online, so they don't feel they have to understand man.
Well, I mean, there's no need to.
Yeah.
If you're being showered with attention, you don't have to put any effort to get it. You don't have to do that work.
Can women ever understand men in any circumstances, no matter what the training is? Can they ever understand men?
I would say yes, but they have to be willing to do the work.
Yeah, true. I would agree with you there.
I mean, because I've met some that did. Now, it's like in those situations, like, man, if you were single, because they weren't, because of course they weren't. They were in relationships with guys because they could get along with them, because they were doing that sort of like, I'm trying to understand this other person and I like them and I want to know them better. And I don't want to just treat them as just sort of this, abstract concept in my life that I don't even really understand. But when I was around them, I'm like, okay, this person seems to actually be going, this is another human being that I need to get along with. I need to be able to put up my side of that relationship and then work with him on his. And that's way different from I get attention and that's all I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
That's what I saw and I still see in single women.
Mm-hmm.
We need to comment on that. What Nice said. This is so important.
Oh, this one. Mm-hmm.
Okay. How does it work? for the pickup artists, the Chads. They don't care about her. Then she seeks after him. She wants him.
Yeah.
He has the power. He has the leverage. How does it work for the nice guys? Oh, they're seeking to impress the woman. Okay, now automatically he does not have the power and the leverage.
Mhm.
And women don't like that. Really, because you can't respect a man who is not in the superior position.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not conscious. It's at the unconscious soul level. Ick. Because although women seek power consciously, unconsciously, they are aroused when the man is more powerful. So, yeah, it's a big game. Men, don't give your power to women. Don't do it, because it is a recipe for disaster and failure.
Yeah. So true. And it's like there is so much cognitive dissonance in women. They subconsciously know that they can't respect the weak, effeminate man, and yet they are demanding these men, which tells you that they are being brainwashed to want those kinds of men, because it totally contradicts the natural law, how Nick would say it.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think it's propaganda. I just think this is the way women are. That's
Or you
why
mean like
you need.
they are delusional? Like I don't think propaganda helped it, honestly.
It doesn't
And
help, but that's why you need. What is it you need to restrain a woman?
yeah, women
A
need that
village.
restraint. A village
She
to restrain a woman.
takes a lot of people to restrain a woman. What are you restraining her from?
Herself.
Her own delusions, her own decisions, which are usually emotional,
Yeah.
kind of short sighted, don't really work out best in the long term.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's check Franklin Aladi's comment here. Recently, some celebrities have been dragged to court by their girlfriend, not wife, to claim half of their finance, especially in Australia. How did we get here?
Women crave resources. And then we change the laws to, 'cause we don't want to oppress women. So, they're going to use whatever. Okay, fine. Yeah, I don't agree with it. What incentive is this for men? Well, first of all, don't get in a relationship. Don't make a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Don't live with her. Don't marry her. Don't own property with her. Just, use her for recreational purposes, because that's the safest thing you can do. Don't make her exclusive. Don't do a long-term thing where it's kind of like a quasi marriage. It's just too dangerous. Men react to these things, and it makes it worse for women on average, because these women are trying to gain something. It's destructive activity.
Yeah. And the frustrating, like the most frustrating part, I think, is that the divorce court, the legal system, and all of the institutions, they are just designed against men. They are only supporting the female delusions and entitlement. And as a result, we have the lack of moral principles. As a result, we live in a degenerate society, and they do what they want, what they feel. There are no rules, no guidelines, no healthy standards. Well, women still, our society holds men to some reasonable standards out there. Men still have to provide, men still have to fix things when they break in our society, right? But there are no standards placed upon women, how women are supposed to behave.
Yeah. I was thinking, I was at work this week. I was delivering a finished car, and just bringing it out for the customer. And it was one I had already been disappointed by because we didn't make a sale on it. And so I'm like, okay, they had a problem. We told them what the problem was, what the fix was, and they didn't buy the work. Like, okay, I'm already not, happy here because I really could have used that. And I get out of the building and I look at who I'm delivering it to, and then I see this, what I see is a woman, and I take one look at her, and then I see her, I think boyfriend, I don't know, maybe husband, and I go, you poor man.
Yeah.
Because she was very stereotypical for the area, and I mean bull ring and all. And I'm like, the guy seemed like a fairly normal dude, and he's got this girl who is probably, I don't know if people know the expression, but a crunchy girl.
Sure.
Granola obsessed.
Oh, I see.
And covered in tattoos and piercings, and I'm just like, I'm trying not to say anything mean here. I'm really not. I'm like, I just want to hand you your keys and go and just back in the building and not have to think about this interaction anymore. Because it's like, I'm watching, like, I feel for the guy, because even if he thinks he's happy right now, he won't be later on, because there's something that's going to happen. You don't know what it is. It could be something really small where she'll just start vaguely changing a little bit, and then the next thing he knows, he's cut off, essentially. Like, I mean, I hear a lot of people just talking like just the basic sexual relationship side of things, where guys just get cut off from that. But there's also just like, I have no interaction with this person anymore because they just decided on their own. I said something wrong at one time, and they reoriented their whole perspective about me with no grace. There's no fundamental, like, okay, this person just said something that doesn't make much sense to me, or I don't really like it, but I'm going to go talk to that person and try and work it out and resolve the conflict. In a lot of modern relationships, I see very little women doing that kind of thing. This is one of the things I was talking about, doing the work in the relationship. I don't see a lot of young women going out and saying, oh, I need to have grace for this guy and understanding, and go, because that's actually empathetic and sympathetic too. And to say, hey, yeah, I didn't really like what you said there. Can we talk about it, resolve it? I don't really want this to be a big deal, but let's just figure out what it was. And so I can feel better about it, and maybe you can make an adjustment or something, but we can just move on from this, and then the relationship is stronger afterwards. That's not happening. And so that guy's going to do something like that maybe in the future. That whole chain of events happens, and the next thing you know, she's taking half his stuff.
Oh yeah. So, this is how they are thinking now. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
David, I'm about twice your age, a little bit less than that. But let's talk about crunchy women.
Steve really wants to get into that one.
Okay, from my perspective, it used to be. I agree, it's not this way now. But when a woman was crunchy 10, 20, 30 years ago, she kind of had that hippie vibe. Okay, this is the vision that comes to mind. She's kind of a hippie. She cares about, living in the country, being natural. A crunchy woman. Yes, it's all about organics. You know what? She's not going to be wearing a bunch of jewelry because that's pretentious. You know what? She might not even shave her armpits. She's crunchy. She wears a peasant dress. Yeah, she's not done up like a dog's dinner, not wearing fashion. She's crunchy. Okay. That makes sense, kind of. There's some thought to the past, historical standards, and the crunchy woman from my day might actually use that persona to be more submissive. But the crunchy woman from the Northwest, these days it's a different animal than the crunchy woman from the past. Do you have any comments on that, David?
Well, I would say what I would say about this particular case was, and I do see this a number of times, just being out and about where I live. The stereotypical crunchy woman of today is split into two factions, and one of them is more closely aligned with, say, the 60s, 70s hippie vibe, and that this young lady definitely, I use that word loosely, definitely leaned that direction. Very much in the sort of like wearing a loose dress, but she had tattoos and some jewelry, so it's like it's not quite there, but it is, and just had that general vibe of someone trying to be a bohemian hippie-ish Pacific Northwest girl, or her vision of that. And but there's also an upswelling I see of another camp, which is the quote unquote conservative girl version of it, where it's the I don't trust the government and I don't believe everything they say, and which is, in many cases that's an accurate and probably wise thing to do, but it's taken to an extreme where they wrap their entire personality around it. It's like all of a sudden you have this Christian girl who goes from just being a pretty standard girl next door to I make all my own bread, and I say mean things about people who are in the government and leftists.
Oh, but again, David, what are their intentions? Why are they doing it? Are they doing it for clout? Because I see a lot of
It's
women
usually clout, I would say.
just attention, right? They don't have any incentive. They don't want to commit to one man, because then if they did, they probably wouldn't have time on social media, right?
Well,
They
I mean,
would
it's not even just social media, it's just social in general. They're doing
Yeah.
it to keep up appearance for everyone in their life. It's I've made this my entire personality,
Yeah.
and I'm going to put that on display for everyone because I think it's good at the core level. That's the thing that they've made. They've made a decision that whatever it is that they're orienting their life around is good and right, and so everyone should see it. And then they wear that as a uniform throughout their day.
Oh,
So
the guys.
there's two different camps there. This was definitely in more the sort of modern hippie, and I see plenty of that near where I lived. Pretty standard Pacific Northwest girl.
Yeah, the
So
guys
what's
on the
the
resurgence
commonality?
call it a mask she wears.
Yeah, okay. But in both types, she's saying exactly what Lucifer said to God when the angels rebelled, which is in Latin, non serviam. I will not serve. No one will put boundaries or restrictions on my behavior. I will do what I want. I will not serve. And what was it? Aleister Crowley said, do what thou wilt. No controls, no boundaries, no discipline. I decide what God wants for me or what the universe wants for me. And if I want something else, I'll just manifest it. And the universe will bend to my will. I will not serve.
Oh, I've met plenty of that type.
Here, I want to go back to Franklin. Hold on, David. Hold on that thought. Just a quick comment. I respect the fact that only if a girl accepts her nature as thought. What scares me are the women with Bible quotes on their bio pretending to be traditional.
Yeah, I do see a lot of that. The quote unquote, Christian conservative girl But really what I see a lot more of is they are big C conservative and small C Christian. And I guess what I mean by that is that they're again trying to find a uniform to wrap themselves in, so that they have a tribe that they can identify themselves with, that everyone can see their membership in, and they don't actually make themselves an individual person who happens to have a certain value set. It's, no, I'm just immersing myself into a sympathetic relationship with a culture. That might be the best way to put it. So they're not, at their core, there's not much there. They're just sort of wearing the ideology. And
that is my program, The Mask She Wears.
Yeah.
And so when I see that, it's like, okay, there are, there's going to be, it's just some girls out there who are going to put some Bible quotes in their bios, and that's fine. It's, it is what they grew up in and whatnot. That is just what it is. But there have been an increase. What I've noticed is just like, you see it and then you go, but there's some other little detail here that's just not, it's sticking out like a red flag. It's just not, like, that's not the complete picture. There's something off that's about this picture. And I've seen some dating app profiles. I don't know if there's any one in the ones I sent you, but I don't know if I have any saved.
Oh,
but,
we will get into a few more.
And it's just like, I'm a, Christian conservative girl, but I'm, they have on Hinge like different relationship goals for like what you want in a relationship. And I see a lot of just pure monogamy. So that's good. I'm fine with that. Well, as a stated goal. But I also see a lot of figuring out my dating goals. That's the phrase that I see a lot of these young women doing. And I'm okay. So when I see that in a Christian conservative girl who's trying to project this image as a, wholesome family girl who's going to be a wife, but she's not completely sold on monogamy. What are we doing here? What's behind the scenes? What's in your brain that you can't quite commit to saying, to presenting to the world, yes, I want to be in a monogamous relationship? So I see that as a red flag, and I don't quite take them as seriously on their claims of being a Christian who is not, who is not following the world, who has decided to be outside of the world.
I also talked to my husband yesterday about the OnlyFans girls and why do men fall for them? Well, because they sell the illusion of a relationship. It's not just porn, right, that men can watch for free, or at least it appears to be that it's slightly more. They build up that kind of fake relationship. I know it's like broken, and like, man, don't waste your money on the OnlyFans chicks. They're not helping you in the long term. But men are trying to kind of compensate for what they can't get from real women, like from their wives even, because they are lacking, their wives are lacking some understanding and communication with their husbands. Like the good kind of relationship that you, David, we're talking about, like she would bring him coffee, like she would try to.
Yeah, it's the guys who, whether they're in a relationship or not, they're not in connection with someone who is looking out for them.
Yeah.
From a female perspective.
And look, I don't condone the OnlyFans chicks. What they do is obviously not good, right? But
exploitative.
But I understand how a lot of, in particular, married men, I think somebody brought up the statistics, and it was, oh gosh, I'm not sure, but it was over 50% of married men, maybe it was 70% of married men watching the OnlyFans content. This should tell you something, that, there is something wrong that their wives are doing if men have, because not all men are dogs, despite the feminist efforts. Not all men will want to fuck everything that moves, right? One woman is plenty, and we've talked about it, guys, in the previous live stream. Like even good women, they're a handful, right?
Mhm.
So most men just want one woman, they want to stay with her, but she kind of leads their husbands with her contempt and disrespect towards her men, with her behavior and ignorance and self-focus to go and like find that kind of human connection, because in the end we are all humans, we need that human interaction, right?
Didn't some of these women train their men to actually do that? Consider this: when this husband and wife, the married man who's subscribing to OnlyFans, consider this: when they were dating, were they celibate? Probably not. Was she giving him sex, great sex, to entice him to make a commitment, being the sex object, to get what she wanted? Okay, now they get married. Now she turns off. She's no longer the sex object. Now she's the Madonna, and you should love her personality and all that. But she already enticed him into it, trained him to go for the sex object, and now she turns off the sex. And so, he's going to go look for another sex object. Gee, who would have thought?
Well, this is why I think the Tretcons say that you're supposed to wipe these women up without even taking them to a trial, like without test driving them. It's probably because they don't want men to consume corn. They don't want men to watch the OnlyFans.
On the other hand, she's a typical woman, let's say. Okay, now she's 28. She had her fun, quote, fun, in her 20s when she was in college. Now, okay, time for kids, time to find a man. Okay, now I have to find Jesus. And now, those engineers who are a little bit weird, they were boring. I couldn't put up with them in my early 20s. Now, that guy, he's making good money. You know what? He looks like he'd be a good father and a good provider. Okay, let me be the good Christian woman. I want to be a trad wife now.
Yeah.
So, okay, she remakes her image and attracts that kind of guy. Did she change who she was at the core? None. Okay, now all women, I'm going to say this because I'm not trashing on these women. All women have the whore side and the Madonna side.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they practice the whore side.
When it suits them, yeah.
Then they get married and it's the Madonna side. And no, that whore side is not there. She denies it.
But
there, and then she gets bored after 7 to 10 years. And what does she do? Go back to the fun. So it's one or the other. They're present in all women. This is not a bad thing. If you look for a woman as a man who's looking to date a woman, and you say, you know what, I'm going for the purity. I just want to find that Madonna type woman. And you don't recognize and draw that dark side of her, she'll get bored with you. And don't allow, and if she has that Madonna side, that means she's more spiritual, more moral, which means she can tell you what to do. And then you become the man who says, yes, dear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true, Steve. There was another comment from Franklin, and then we will get back to David's profiles. Just 1 second. That comment was actually responding to what you said. Sorry, guys. It was just a good comment, okay? Here. Well, if what you said about the government and the incentive are true, then being a traditional man in the West marriage is very risky.
Yes, yes. If you think you're abiding by traditional rules in our modern era where the rules are not traditional, and she has options to take you to the cleaners, doesn't matter what she's feeling today, that she's the kind of woman who would never divorce. If her feelings change in the future, she will become that kind of woman. And in order to rationalize it, she'll accuse you of things you didn't do. And everybody will say, oh, oh, yes, I understand. He's a bad man. You need to leave him.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how traditional you are, how well you abide by the morals and principles and Christianity and all that. She'll just decide to leave. Hey, I understand that. Nick just put up that comment.
Yeah.
That's Nick's story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Aladi added another comment. Let me add to what you said about women changing after getting married. What I think is the most women prioritize their kids, not husband, after having a child. I have some thoughts on that too, but go ahead, guys. You go first.
Okay, yeah. I experienced that twice because I've been married twice. The woman thought her children were her priority. That means she thought she had ultimate authority over the children.
Mm-hmm.
There was adopted children in the first marriage, her stepchildren. But since the children were the focus, I was not. And therefore, she could come up with a narrative that says, I'm the bad man, and she could leave. No, I'll tell you what, when a woman prioritizes the children over the husband, the children will become last. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. The children ultimately belong to the man. This is not in modern law, but the children ultimately belong to the man.
Mm-hmm.
She provides an example by serving her husband, an example of discipline and authority and respect. And he looks out for the children. The authority she has over the children is derived or delegated from his authority. If you get the order right, everything is going to be fine. And most men do not have the energy to be the tyrant. When I say most men, I'm going to say 95 to 99% of men do not have the energy to control every aspect of a woman. He's not going to be the tyrant. He will be an authoritative leader.
Yeah.
Hey,
Another comment I often get from the feminists, they say, but what about him telling her to kill people? Is she supposed to listen to him and do what he says? Because it's what's said in the Bible, right? Women are supposed to listen to men.
So, because one man in 10,000 will tell a woman to kill somebody, that's justification for 10,000 women to not listen to their man.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way to put it. I'm so borrowing it, Steve. Okay, justification for 10,000 women to not listen.
I have noticed that there's a tendency, particularly amongst feminist young women. And I've encountered this even in family members who have claimed to be quote unquote conservative Christians. But then the behavior I see is that the anecdotal personal story is placed at a higher value in the hierarchy of truth, for lack of a more complicated way of putting that. It's the objective reality is less important than the subjective reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I've seen a number of conversations, and I know you have too, Elena, because you've been
Yeah.
present for them,
Yeah, I know.
where you can say what the general big picture view of something is, and the immediate response is, but this is what I saw, as that is in their mind, the stand-in for what is real.
Yeah, they are the minority. In statistics, we call it statistically insignificant when you look at the broader scale, what people are doing, how they are behaving, and then they see one example, but my aunt did this. Oh, but my friend was successful with this. Okay, exception from the rule, right?
Yeah, well, and it's like, it may be statistically significant in some cases.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, 20% does not decide reality for 80%.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I have a description of this. Women can't math. Okay, here's an example. If you get remarried, a biological unrelated male in your household has a much greater chance of S-ing or whatever the children. True. That is true.
Yeah, I've seen the statistic on that.
That does not make the average man you remarry statistically likely to do that. Yes, the incident went up, but in the absolute reality, the number is still somewhat small. It's less likely in all cases overall, but you did increase your chances when you got remarried. That does not mean, oh, I'm going to divorce him, because statistically, man, a second husband is more apt to do that. That has no bearing in reality, in the big picture, and you don't understand comparative statistics because women can't math.
Yeah, people. Guys, you actually did a show, right? Chick Math, or was it here on my channel?
Yeah, I think we did one on that.
Lost count. Yeah, guys, check. It's either on the Resurgence of Sanity YouTube channel or on my channel, Girls Math. I think you guys did it. It was so hilarious. It was so funny.
Statistics are just beyond a woman.
Yeah.
Because remember I said this earlier, she bases everything on her personal experience or the scenario that she can invent that refutes the general rule or what her friend told you. So there is no general truth because there's an exception to everything that's general. Since there's always an exception, we can never know what's true or not. So you can't know what to do because there's always an exception. Therefore, there is no truth, and her feelings are what matter.
No, Steve, there is her truth, there is your truth. The subjective truth of each person.
Her truth is based on her feelings and facts and statistics, and his point of view and logic has no bearing on her truth.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd like to address Franklin Aladi's comment here. Most women prioritize their kids, not their husbands. I agree, but also look, if women were prioritizing their kids, I think they use their kids as a cover to get away with the dictatorship that they want to impose on their husbands, right? If they feel like they want to get more leverage over their husband, they would say, like Steve mentioned, oh, but I'm closer to kids, I have a better connection with my kids, I know what's best for them, right? And the same she does with Jesus, right? We've all heard Jesus is my boyfriend, I'm superior, I have a better connection with Jesus. I think it's all the cover for their lack of true concern for their kids, because if mothers really were concerned about their children, they would have never left the kid's biological father. And now we all know that most divorces, 70% of divorces, are initiated by women. So how concerned are women really in their kids, in the well-being of their kids? Because we all know that single mothers, they raise criminals out of their boys. Single mothers raise public whores out of their girls.
Yeah, I don't know. I like just thinking of more statistics. You could even take the guy out of it. In the last numbers I heard, and I don't know the updated stuff, but this was fairly recent that I heard this. Was that in lesbian relationships, I think it's the domestic violence rate is 75%.
Yeah. How many of those are false accusations of women?
I mean, I don't know about false accusations, but it could be.
Yeah.
But you know, if you look at that statistic, you look at that and you go, okay, who's actually the problem here?
Uh-huh.
When I've heard of multiple stories about, yes, the guy in a divorce court, essentially, the guy may have done something that was inappropriate and hit his wife, but there is almost no discussion of what led up to that.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to talk about someone snapping and going, you've been making my life a living hell, and now I'm reacting because I'm getting tired of it. But the thing that happens is that once it goes to court, the focus is on the response, not the inciting behavior leading up to it.
Yeah, she was yelling and screaming at him, pushing him, shoving him, doing all that, and finally he's had enough.
Yeah, women do it to themselves.
Oh,
man.
that's snapping. It's just like, pow, in the arm. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, I'm letting you know that you just pushed too far. And
but this is physical abuse.
Man. Yep.
Physical abuse.
No, and two, I don't want to get too harsh on the entire idea of the judicial system in general. It is very difficult to adjudicate anything emotional, and that's why this is so difficult in family court. And the focus then turns on to what is done physically.
Yeah.
Because there's evidence. It's like there's stuff we can actually look at. And
you don't even need evidence.
I know you don't. I know you don't really need the evidence, but like I said, like in the actual broad understanding of how a judicial system should work, you work on evidence and things people say.
Oh, evidence is easier to prove.
If there's no evidence of it, it's really hard to prove, and that's why the focus is okay. The focus then turns to what was done physically. That by nature does not benefit a man in a scenario where there's been conflict between a man and a woman, because the man uses conflict physically and the woman uses conflict emotionally.
So there is no, what you are saying, David, there is no it's hard to collect the evidence on emotional abuse, right?
Yes. Yeah, you can't, because it's technically, you could call it hearsay.
Yeah.
Like, well, you're just saying that happened. Yeah. There's no evidence of it.
I have to step in here, since it takes a village to restrain a woman. I know that David needs to go talk to your husband this afternoon. We had a previous discussion about, this one can't go along. So, Elena, it's time. We're almost 2 hours in. You better bring up whatever you want.
Okay, let's do the final
in 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So I'm bringing this back on. I'm being the discipline guy here.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. We need it. Yes, we need the discipline. All of us, right? Okay, here, another account. Prioritizing faith, racial justice, women's, and how do I even say that without getting us in too much trouble here? Right?
Bang, bang control.
Bang, bang. Okay. Rainbow rights, gun control, and then healthcare, education is a human right, and not having kids. Okay, David, what did you think about this one?
Okay, well, this one told me exactly what kind of person she was from the get-go. And that was almost I almost appreciated that because I'm like, okay, well, I can obviously tell I have no interest in you whatsoever as a human being, because I could already tell this is a woman who claims she was a Christian, but I could tell that she placed the world's view of what is a Christian over what actually the Bible says. And so I could look at this and I could go, okay, she's living a worldly life with some vague justifications saying that it is more than that. It is a godly life. And I'm looking at this going, okay, healthcare and education is a human right. A human right means that you should have access to it at all times in any cases. But the way I see that is if you are demanding the labor of another human being and access to it at any time, that in effect is a demand towards slavery. It's the okay, I demand the right to have a teacher teach me.
Yeah.
There's me, like, you know, and we're not even talking about children. Of course, this girl says she doesn't want children, which is a whole other can of worms. But it's the I demand the right to have someone spend their time interacting with me. And that is inherently selfish and also a demand towards the time of someone else, which is in effect slavery. It's I own your time because I believe it's a human right.
Entitlement, yeah.
So that already tells me something, some key parts of her personality and how she sees the world. Now, you know, also not having kids, we can talk about all of the downsides of having children. But in the end of the day, what that tells me about her is that her view of children is not necessarily the potential problems. It's the children will cramp my lifestyle.
Oh, like she just wants the resources, right? She doesn't really want to share your resources with the kids.
Or not even that. It's the and they might dress it up in some sort of ideological mishmash of ideas, saying that, well, you know, the world we live in is so terrible that having children would be harmful to them by default. I've seen that. The antinatalism thing is most likely what's driving this particular person. It's not that, you know, if you're in a marriage and you have kids and that kid can be used against you in a court of law, that's a separate issue from this. This is having a kid is abuse towards that child.
Well, of course, because we have climate change.
Exactly. It's that.
And,
all these ills in the world would be destructed towards the child.
People,
so I just don't want to have
them. People use resources, and that hurts Gaia. And we can't have hurting the earth. The earth is sacred. So we can't have that. And don't you know, there's too many people in the world. We have a population explosion.
No, we don't.
We have a population collapse. But lefties believe there's too many people. The governments behind the scenes and certain realistic people, maybe the conservatives as well, are saying, holy shit, we're on the verge of a population collapse because the birth rate is fallen to 0. So, gee, who's going to pay for my retirement if there's no kids to earn any money to pay me in my old age when I'm no longer capable? I did my duty. I was productive to provide for those older than me, and they had a good retirement. And now, in the future, we're not going to have enough kids to do that. You know, this is bad, but she doesn't see that part of it.
No, and so, you know, I'm looking at this profile going, I really don't want anything to do with this person because I can already tell that they're going to be, they're not even really going to be a you know, themselves. they're going to be acting out an ideology. It's I don't know, I was talking about this with my dad recently, that when we talk about people who are woke, it's almost as if they're, and they're ideologically possessed. That's almost a real thing. Like they are not even really fully themselves. There's this, this spirit taking over and speaking for them in their virtue signaling. And so I'm like, I don't want that in my life. Because for me, that, like, no matter what the ideology is, the value to me is to not ever be that kind of person. And so to have that at all is not good for me. And I don't want to be married to it.
Yeah, well, their minds are like concrete, all mixed up and permanently set.
Yeah. Oh, I've encountered it many times.
Yeah. Well, shall we check the last one? The last one is very funny, guys.
It's just a good one.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna say, I only sent 4. This should be it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Well, let me say it this way. She's looking for the one.
yeah, no, that spirit
Yes,
is very definitely
she has
present.
to sample many, many, many. She will know the one. He's the someone who wipes the cum off me, doesn't just throw me the towel. Man, when she finds that guy, he's the one.
Yeah, so she's looking for a slave here who will basically clean her butt for her.
I mean, obviously I did not try to engage with this person.
Sure. I don't blame you, David.
I mean, how do I put it? She's a Pacific Northwest 3. So I didn't really find her that attractive, and then I see this, and I'm like, yeah, no, I can already tell that you are this young woman is a crass person, also thoroughly used up.
Yeah.
Like this is a woman who has slept around enough to be crass publicly.
Mm-hmm.
You think she has a proverbial 1,000-cock stare?
Most likely. I don't remember the rest of her profile at the top of my head, but I believe there were several pictures where I'm like, you look like you've seen a penis or two.
Yeah.
And right up close.
And well, they view themselves attractive. They view themselves as tens. All of them are supermodels.
Yeah.
In their minds, I mean.
In their minds.
How could you be in the Pacific Northwest? Because I seen palm trees in the background.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing I get a lot too. Where, I mean, there's also just scam profiles.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see, I mean, it could just be pictures from like a vacation or something, but oftentimes, because a lot of these girls do travel, that is
what does travel mean?
There's been a couple where I'm like, there's a non-zero probability that how do I put this, a Middle Eastern man probably did something rather horrendous to you on a vacation somewhere that he was paying for.
Or she went to Mexico.
Yeah, there's that too.
For the experiences.
Of course.
Yes, we went to Tulum to find ourselves.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, that's the last one, guys.
where should a young man go to find a decent woman to date?
That is a loaded question, because oftentimes the answer, particularly from the stereotypical Christian conservative male influencer, is that they should just go to church. Because these guys, and again, it's a matter of what you experience. These guys see all these unmarried young women in their local church community and going, well, all these girls are here and they seem nice.
Mm-hmm.
What I often find is that when you actually talk to the guys who are saying that, one-on-one without the camera on, they're not putting up any public persona, is that they don't actually interact with these women enough to know what they're like behind closed doors. And I can think of it. At my church, there are 2 young women who are single, relatively close to me in age. And there's been nothing said between me and them, but in terms of, going out and trying to get to know each other better and starting potentially dating. But part of what it is I got the impression that I was not supposed to be interested in them spiritually. And it's hard to explain that to some people, because they do go, well, they're just single. You should go talk to them. And I'm like,
who gave you that? Did they give you that vibe, or the church?
They, in interacting with them, very vaguely, was just, I get the sense from you that there's something off that is not something I should be engaged with relationally.
You said that, or they gave that vibe to you?
They gave that vibe. They gave that vibe to me, and I interpreted it that way.
Okay.
And what happened with both of those young women is that actually my mother, because I go to the same church as my parents, my mother met them at a Bible study, and these are women that mom was like, hey, you should go out and introduce yourself and
Mm-hmm.
personally, not just in a group setting, and try and get to know them. And then one evening with them, my mom came back and was like, no, don't. What happened? She's like, they have no sense of being dependent.
Mm-hmm.
In general.
Feral women. Yeah.
Well, it's not even just feral. It's just like they have everything that they think they need. And so they don't actually see the need for a guy to be in actual authority over them and be a provider for them. They've been able to achieve that on their own. They've got their house, they've got their job, and they're doing their life. They may not necessarily be engaging in, shall we say, immoral behavior in their personal life. That's not the point. The point is that they have no actual need for a guy in their life. They've been able to find that on their own. And so they don't, when it comes down to it, they're going to be much more difficult to be in a relationship with, because they don't actually need you.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, and that's a very hard thing to unpack for anyone, just circumstantially going, well, there's 2 single women over there. Why aren't you talking to them? Like, I already got the inside baseball. They don't need me.
It's true of virtually all women.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last resurgence stream, I came to the conclusion that no, you can't have equality. And everybody says, well, you mean equality of outcome. We should have equality of opportunity. No, that's a disaster too. You give women the equality of opportunity. Now they go to college and they get debt and they get a good job. You know what? They don't need a man. And you know what? A woman that doesn't need a man is not going to be a good wife, because you need this hierarchy in the relationship. And sometimes, maybe not sometimes, all the time, the vast majority of the time, when there's a rough spot, the only thing that might keep a woman there in the marriage is her need and lack of other options.
Yeah.
So in order for the species, humanity, to continue and have kids, you have to deprive women of opportunity. Because if you give them opportunity, it's like you're empowering them to think they're going to be like men. And as soon as they don't need a man, they won't be listen to a man. And you know what? This isn't good for women.
Yeah, it's not good.
Because they're going to discard men. And you know what? They're going to grow old with box wine and cats.
Yeah, that's what I predict.
Because she didn't need a man. She had too many options. And that will ultimately lead to a bad outcome.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
And this is that has been one of my major problems when everyone's like, well, just go to a church. And I've got family members like, well, if your church doesn't have these women, you should come to my church. And I'm like, I've heard about your church. I don't want those women.
Yeah.
Because I can already see how that would play out. And I've met some of them.
Watch, David. We are going to have more women for you here in the red pill, in the manosphere.
Right.
Soon they will all wear the red pill mask.
Oh,
they will all pretend like they emphasize with men. They understand men, right?
And then behind closed doors, they'll say anything they want to the guy's face when no one's looking.
Exactly.
I've seen all of that, and I don't find it very interesting. And it's the thing that I find interesting, because I've people in our family who they're, oh yeah, you come meet this girl who I think she's really great, and then I meet them. And okay, let's put it this way: there is a girl out there who I said, fine, I will humor you, and I will meet this person. And this was several years ago. This was before the pandemic, and I'll see where it goes. Spoke to her for a few months, went out on one date. We saw each other in other settings and whatnot, and talked a bunch. As far as I know, after that, our family members who introduced me to this young woman, they don't talk to her anymore. Because what happened is they saw behind the mask when she actually interacted with me the way she actually interacts with men, not what she told them. But the thing is like they just said, okay, that's just one singular thing. The rest of my friends are good. And I'm like, okay, how many times are we going to go through this? Because you set me up with someone who absolutely burned me. And it's good that you're supporting me in that and not her.
Yeah.
Family. But man, am I going to be hesitant the next time you say, oh, I've met this, we've got
amazing girl. You should meet her.
I've heard this before. You're going to have to understand that I'm a little bit tentative.
Yeah.
And she may be fine. She may be great. Here's what you need to know. You need to be prepared for losing more friends. Because for whatever reason it is, this is just me in particular, I seem to bring out the worst in people. I was actually asked by a coworker, it's like, well, because we've been talking about cross-training across different positions. And one of my coworkers says, well, hey, why don't you, is there any chance maybe you learn this particular position? And the position is a customer service one. And I'm like, I kind of just backed out of the conversation, but it was like, the thought that occurred to me was like, no. I'm not someone who should be in a customer service position because I bring out the worst in people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not saying like, oh, like, oh, woe is me, everyone's mean to me. It's just like, no, like I have a history in my life of when I interact with some people, I just somehow there's something I say that they just like it brings out everything behind
Blows
the
them
mask.
up, yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I don't want to be a representative of the business if that's going to be what I get.
Yeah, you just are willing to speak the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That well,
Instead
yeah,
of
I don't
powdering
tolerate.
their ass and telling them whatever they want to hear.
I don't
to know.
tolerate BS very well.
Yeah, same here. You know, I managed to piss off a lot of people. And yeah, even including some close friends. Like some of them, they reached out and they told me, "You are so intimidating." And I'm like, "Good."
So
That's what you
okay.
need.
I just have one small piece of advice for young men.
Go
That
ahead.
it's not going to be good. It's not going to be useful at all. It really isn't. Okay. Yes, where should you go to find a good woman? Well, the first trait is you need to observe a young woman who respects her father.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just wherever you find a young woman or a middle-aged woman who's respecting her father, which means you have to see the daughter and the father there together and her respecting him and you have to actually observe her behavior, see if she has the virtue of humility. Now, where can you find this? I don't know. I have in mind one place, one instance where I saw this. Okay, I'm not sure I want a woman. So I haven't done anything about it. I might at some point. But here's the deal. You have to be conscious. You have to have situational awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever you find a woman with her father, look at the interaction. That's going to tell you more than anything else. And you know what? Give up on the dating apps. They're a cesspool. It's a crapshoot. And you know what? You're going to be judged and you're not going to be successful. And then when you meet this ideal woman on paper, fuck, it's just, no, our personalities clash, which is fine.
Yeah, that's normal.
Guys, I have a question for you. Since a few men might actually start following your advice and look into the intersexual dynamics and whether a daughter respects her father, is it possible to fake respect?
I would say it's possible to fake anything. While Steve was saying that, I was thinking of an example of what doesn't look good, and this was not fake, so that this doesn't really answer your question, Elena.
Okay.
But the one of the last relationships I was ever in, actual, like, this girl was my girlfriend. I went over, and I was much younger, so it's been a while since I've actually been in a relationship, but and I might have talked about this story in private, but this is just so you might have heard this before, Elena.
Mm-hmm.
I went over to her place for the first time. She was living with her parents at the time. I was just out of college, and I met her dad, I met her mom, and I met one of her sisters. She had two sisters. I only met one of them. The mother ruled that house with an iron fist. The guy her dad, I would describe as just almost a nothing. Like, he was there, you could tell he was there, but there's just, it's, absent but present.
Yeah.
Which just sounds like an oxymoron, but it's like his body was there and he would interact with people, but there just wasn't much of that actual human being force there. And the women in the house ruled the show. The mom spoke before the dad and cut over him all the time. And, you know, and he just sat on the couch watching TV. And I'm just like, this is not what I grew up with. But at the time I was, fairly mature and I didn't know how to describe it. But was looking back, I'm like, that should have been my biggest red flag, that relationship was not going to last. And it didn't. Because
let me comment there. No matter that woman, whoever she was, doesn't matter how Christian she is, how Bible believing, how much she loves Jesus, how much she goes to church, how much she talks about being a good wife, she will not, absolutely not be a good wife, because her experience is in the family dynamics that she grew up in. She will try and reproduce that. And if you try to take the leadership role in any relationship, marriage with her, she will not submit to your authority, because her mind has trained her. Her experience has trained her that the woman is the authority. Do not marry such a woman.
Oh, no. And I did not. What I would say is that, yes, that this does happen in conservative households. This was not one of those. I believe the family was mostly lapsed Mormons, but not conservative at all, fairly liberal.
Okay.
She presented herself to me as wanting to have a traditional, quote unquote, relationship. And but that facade fell off about 3 months in.
And guys, I think they might actually be genuine in wanting that traditional relationship. Now that we've been talking about it and I think about it, they might actually want it, but they don't know how, because this is not what they've been taught. This is not how they've been raised.
Well, and what I would say, particularly in her case, is that the idea of a traditional relationship was something that, it was a foreign concept to her. She hadn't lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And the version that she believed was a quote unquote conservative relationship or traditional relationship was a uniform. It was a mask, for sure, and that she could put on and try and convince me that she was of that type. But it was sort of like, it was almost, she wanted to just live a caricature of a 50s housewife. And she didn't really want that at her core. We had our last conversation where I ended up breaking up with her. She made it very clear that that's not actually what she wanted. So I will give her some credit for, saying that and being clear on that. But it was very informative for me to go, okay, I have to be very careful, because there are people out here, and it seems to be more common than I initially thought, who are trying to present something to the people around them in order for those people to like them, whether it's just as friends or in, close relationships. And so it's just like, no, I need to be more discerning in these people that I'm interacting with. Otherwise, I might get, snookered into a relationship that I don't actually want to be in. Because the vision I got of myself is like, okay, I'm sitting there listening to this girl talk about what she actually wants. It's like, okay, in 10 years, I'm probably going to look like her dad. A nothing human being sitting in a chair while the women in my life are saying absolutely horrendous things about me, and I can't defend myself. I don't want that.
That's true. But the women who get in those situations are not happy.
Oh, very definitely.
The woman who controls her husband is not happy.
Yep.
Her mom was actually like, when I met her, I'm like, I didn't understand at first, because I was 22 at this point, just fresh out of college, and at the time I'm just trying to be nice, respectful human being. But I'm looking at this woman, I'm like, you are actually a very bitter human being, and I don't know why. And then as I was hanging out with them more and saw more of just the general home life, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And this isn't what I want to be. And the initial, impression I got from this girl at the time was that she didn't want that either. She, like, whenever stuff was going on in the house, that her mom was getting on her dad's case about something, kind of being, cranky bitch to her husband. And I look over at, my girlfriend at the time, and she's just like rolling her eyes at this, like she didn't really like it. And I'm like, no, you're used to this. And you're not defending your dad at all, which tells me something. You don't respect him.
Yeah.
So are you going to respect me in this relationship? And what it turned out was no. It was, I'm going to have my favorite views and ideologies and my positions on how I get to behave in a relationship. And you don't get to tell me what those should be. And this came up specifically in the conversation because it was something that I was asking for, essentially, was you don't get to ask me to compromise on any of my beliefs. Because that's what I said. I was just like, what I told her is I can't be in a relationship where there's no, compromise on any strong beliefs. Because that's the basic thing that I knew I had to at least ask for. It's like, okay, if there's any strong beliefs from this side of the relationship, I've got to be able to say, hey, is there any way where we can meet in the middle? Because even in the day-to-day life, if there's, some small things like, okay, like you want to go to that event over there and there's something else at this time. So can we split the time? If you can't agree on, say, something bigger than that, are you going to be able to agree on a smaller issue where a compromise is needed? And what she was telling me was essentially, I get to determine what's right. You don't get to say anything. There's no negotiation. I'm like, okay, that's not a relationship. I'm out. Bye.
It's ultimatum.
I want to talk about that word compromise with women. Compromise. Gee, sounds like a good idea. Men know how to compromise. Women don't. So in the divorce process, first marriage, can we compromise? Oh, the guardian ad litem, a woman says, you need to compromise with your wife. You're soon to be divorced, which meant me accommodate. Women will not compromise. In their view, is compromise means he accommodates me.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, from a man's point of view, and this is advice, never compromise with a woman. Don't introduce the concept. The only thing that works is you have the authority. You need to tell her what's going to happen. Do not bend. Do not compromise.
Yeah, I agree.
Provide her input and her counsel, and you bring that into your mind and you consider it, and then you decide. You're not compromising. She's not your equal. She's not your partner. Furthermore, let's go back to Genesis. Man was created with dominion. He was lonely. He created woman out of man to be her helpmeet. Therefore, men and women have different roles and a different hierarchy. A woman is not going to be happy when she's out of the place that God designed her for. Now, this is going to sound really cruel. But since a man has the authority, he needs to put a woman in her place, not vindictively, just because he has the authority. And when she's in her place, she's in the proper role, doing what she was designed to do. And she's going to bristle. She's going to try and get out of her place. But when you put her in her place, ultimately, that's for her own well-being. And you know what? It sounds really mean and controlling. But think about it. Are the strong, independent women really happy? Would those same strong, independent women actually have been more content if they didn't pursue that strong independence and were actually put in their place under the authority and protection
Mm-hmm.
of a man. And that includes the man who's willing to die for her, to protect her, to give his life, to earn money, to provide for her and the children. Okay, he is ultimate leader, but just as Christ is our ultimate leader. He was willing to die for us. That doesn't mean we are in control of Christ. Doesn't mean that a woman should control her man.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with Nice here. The problem is that our society tells women that they are stupid for listening to men. I honestly think that women should stop. And look, it's up to them whether they choose to take my advice or not. Most of them probably will laugh at it and say, like, I'm crazy for saying these things. But women could learn more from talking to men and taking advice from older men who are like Steve, who are like George Bruno, for example. Listen, my son YouTube channel, right? Who could give them some rational advice rather than listening to single women who essentially can only teach them what they are. If women are single, then all these younger women will learn from them how to be single and unhappy. And look, Steve mentioned women are very unhappy based on how much alcohol they consume, based on how many antidepressants are being prescribed to women. Like, are women really that happy without the order, without restrictions and restraint placed upon them? And okay, here, Aladi made a comment. The concept of traditional relationship, they all want it, right? But their perception of traditional relationship is gotten from social media. Ladies, if you want traditional relationship, and I wish we had Nick here with us, he might be in the comments, you need to embrace the patriarchy, you need to embrace the hierarchy and the order. You need to stop listening to men.
It's what Franklin says is true. But it's always been this way. Go back to Genesis 3. The curse upon men and women. What was the curse on women? From God.
When she disobeyed.
Yes, her desire shall be for her husband, and he shall rule over her. Mm-hmm. Her desire shall be to control her husband. He will rule over her. In other words, she wants to be the boss, but she needs to be ruled. Damn, that's exactly it's the same shit going on today.
Yeah.
She wants to be the boss, babe. Mm-hmm. And it's up to the man to put her in her place.
Yep.
Now she has to be willing to go there. You can't do it as a tyrant.
Yeah, you can't force her.
Mm-hmm. But does she want to go there? Yes. That's what the Chad does.
Oh, yeah.
He disses her. She pursues him. He can act however the hell he wants. He can say mean things to her. She just laps it up. And she laps it up so strongly that she's willing to share him rather than be the one woman for a lesser man. Because he's not being nice to her. He's telling her. He's putting her in her place. And man, what does it do? It creates arousal on that woman.
Oh, yeah.
You can disagree with me all you want. You can say it shouldn't be that way. All you Christians out there. Well, that's not the way it should be. Who the hell cares? Actually, I think it's the way it is. I think it's the way God designed it for whatever reason. I'm not God. I can't explain it, but I'm saying it's true.
It is what it is, guys. You can't change the. I mean, you could try, but it's not going to end well for you and for our society. And we can see the proof of it.
And if God designed things and women to react this way, the way women react is not bad. It just is.
Yeah, I
It just
see your
is.
point.
So I'm not saying women are bad for doing this. I'm not saying that. How the hell can I say that? It's just the way women are. Don't expect women to behave in a way that they weren't created to be.
Exactly. Yeah. But you are good, bro. I think you guys, have you talked about philosophy on your channel, Steve?
Philosophy comes up. It's kind of weaved into everything.
Yeah.
There is no philosophy without including theology and truth and logic. So it's a mix. Yeah.
You've talked about it, right?
What philosophy specific?
Well, like you are God. You can you are in charge. You can change God's design. You can do very powerful things.
We make fun of manifestation.
Okay.
Manifesting reality.
I thought
But we have pointed out that man was created first. Man is the glory, or man is the glory of God, and woman is the glory of man. Okay, that's somewhere in Corinthians, I think. Okay, so is that philosophy? Does that pertain to a hierarchy? Is it a philosophy? Yes. It's also theology.
Theology, yeah.
So I'm not God. Okay, here's how I think about it. The woman submits to man. She's accountable to the man. If he tells her to do something and it's sinful, he's responsible, not her. Now, if he tells her to go murder somebody, okay, that's the extreme. No, she shouldn't. But if it's one of those questionable things, or, okay, from a Catholic perspective, you're not supposed to use birth control. He says, yes, we're going to have relations, and I'm going to wear a condom. She could say, oh, no, the church says that's a mortal sin. Sorry, you don't get to say that. You just submit. It's his sin, not yours. Okay. So everything means everything except for the very, very extreme, which basically doesn't happen. He's responsible. And he is not responsible to the woman. You could take it to the point where he's not responsible to her to being faithful and not screwing other women. He's not responsible to her. Who is he responsible to? He's responsible to God.
Yeah.
Okay, so if God says don't screw other women,
okay,
and does, is he? Yes, he is. Her, absolutely. Is he accountable to her? Yeah, kind of. But mostly he's accountable to God. Now, women, is this a bad deal? Because he's not accountable to you and accountable to God?
But they want him to be accountable to them. Look, they even in their mind
accountable in infidelity. I agree with that at a certain level. At a different level, it's not the same.
Yeah, but look, in the feminist mindset, if she's the goddess, a man will be accountable to her. This is so empowering, guys.
That's just I don't know. It's just a new version of an old idea, which is the Gnostic ideal of that came out of Christianity way long time ago, which is you can create in yourself divinity.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And so I see that in the modern world as the goddess mindset. It's like you
Yeah,
are a
goddess.
goddess, this
Mhm.
constant, building of this idea in a person that they are divine. And when I see that, that is a huge red flag for me, because if I'm called by my faith to say, I am not God, and I then find myself married to a woman who claimed to be a Christian, but really actually in her day-to-day life, she's believing in this idea that she is a goddess. Like,
Mhm.
okay, you see yourself as something divine. That's not okay. But
Yeah.
partially because that places a practical problem in the relationship where I don't see myself as divine, but she does. So by nature, she's going to see herself as higher than me in the
Superior.
hierarchy.
Yes, yes.
But also, and then able to not pay any attention to me. But also, that means that while I married someone who is supposedly a Christian, I've married a heretic.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, I screwed up. But in terms of my discernment, but that doesn't justify what she is doing.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that I've gotten to the point where I look for is, okay, does it look like you have a spirit where you claim divinity in yourself? Or do you see yourself as superior than other human beings? Because that's usually what it leads to. And I'm like, no, we are all sinners who have fallen short of the glory of God. There is no one of us that is divine. If you live that out, I'm interested. If you don't, and you say you do, I'm really not interested.
Yeah, you're just lying. Hmm. Yeah, Nick says here, I'm superior to other human beings in some ways. Hmm. And look, I wanted to go back to the comment by you guys are on fire today. I really enjoy the comments. Franklin Aladi, at the beginning, you mentioned that you have the respect for the fact that the OnlyFans girls are more um, open about what they are doing. They are more genuine, let's say, right? They are not faking who they are. Just because they are genuine about it, it doesn't mean that what they are doing is good. You see, and I think this is where the lack of moral principles in our society leads us to uh, the justification of the life choices that these women make. They still choose to be the public horse, right? They can't just undo by admitting that yes, I am guilty as charged, right? I am that. So now what? I'm repented. I'm somehow better just because I'm honest.
Yes. They want to parade their dysfunction out there and be recognized for their honesty and celebrated for it. If you celebrate what they're doing, then they don't have to feel guilty. It's like the gay pride parade.
Exactly.
Gee, let's take the gays down Main Street and they can dance in their G strings and everybody can come out and clap.
But you are honest about it,
They
bravo!
don't have to feel guilty for their life choices.
Exactly.
And OnlyFans is like a gay pride parade.
Yeah. And I think you guys did an awesome live stream on the Resurgence of Sanity YouTube channel where you talked about the shaming cycle. They don't need to go through the full shaming cycle. Because if they get already the validation from society, where men are like, oh, but the attention that these reformed 304s get in church in particular, for like, but they were broken women and now they are somehow saved because they publicly renounced their prior sins, and now let's welcome them, let's applaud to them. for their honesty, because they were the bad girls before, and now they are. Look how transformed they are.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I buy the outward appearance of transformation in some of the people I'm seeing in that particular crowd. The people who claim to be a reformed human being, but when you actually see them in their day-to-day life, they're not actually making any major changes.
Mm-hmm.
They're still kind of wearing the same uniforms that they were, the same masks, and I look at that and I go, okay, yes, Jesus may say to forgive, but what are you actually doing in your life that is actually changing?
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, my forgiveness of you as a human being is between me and God, and me reconciling the things that I have said in my own heart with God, saying, yeah, you shouldn't have said that in your own heart, even if you didn't say it to them. That's more what that's about. It doesn't mean, forgiveness doesn't mean just say, okay, well, no, it's all good. Everything you did in the past is forgotten. And you get to continue to behave however you want now that you've said you have changed. That's not how that works. It's very much like, okay, I am going to be skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to allow you into my life, but I'm going to be skeptical, and you're not getting 100%.
Yeah, I think that's how they should have been.
You have to demonstrate the authenticity of that major change you've made in your life when you're saying you're repenting of your previous sins.
Yeah.
Because I don't know your heart. All I can see what's on the outside. Jesus knows your heart. And that's fine.
Doesn't mean forgiveness does not mean I have to pander to you.
Well, yeah, that's a big part of it.
And forgiveness does not mean I can't hurt your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Hurting someone is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Harming someone is. Because telling them the truth hurts. So hurt. Hey, personally, I don't learn anything the easy way. I have to undergo suffering. Things have to get bad. And then I look at myself and say, damn, yeah. When it hurts too much, I have to do some soul seeking and learn. Hurt is a positive thing. So don't be afraid of hurting someone. Yes, be moral, be principled. Pandering actually harms them.
Well, nice.
Which hurts them is actually the good thing.
Yeah. Like nice road here, 3 or 4 pride parade. Yeah, when they get the validation, when they get the social approval for their misconduct, right? They won't learn the lesson. They won't learn what they need to learn to improve their behavior.
Oh, and women hate feeling guilty and being shamed. And we also, Elena said, shame those holes.
Yeah.
And she's trying to advocate women shame other women. That's not good. You know what? As men, you just need to stand on principles. Don't be afraid of shaming women or causing them to feel hurt because of their past behavior. Yes, you can show mercy, but that does not mean forgetting or condoning what they did. You can be merciful, but the shame and the guilt are part of human experience, and they're not bad things. if you think on yourself when you feel guilty about something you've done, yeah, okay, you need to confess it. You need to atone for that. You need to make amends. And if you let a woman off without any atonement, it's not going to go well for her, because deep down, she needs to feel like she paid the price for her past. Because, is this just about women? No, hell no.
No, there's guys who need this too.
If I get by with something and I feel guilty about it, I don't have to pay a price. Ultimately, that hurts me in my salvation. Yeah, okay, the penalty, there's penalties for civil penalties. If I defraud somebody and I'm not held to account, am I really sincere? If I don't make restitution, if I'm so sorry, David, I stole $100 from you. Will you forgive me? David says, oh, yeah, of course. Great.
I'll steal more.
Now, do I have to give the $100 back to him?
That would be preferable.
Right.
Oh, preferable. Does it hurt me if I just get your forgiveness, but don't have to actually pay any penalty, and I'm rewarded for my honesty? Oh, yeah, I stole $100. Now, everybody clap for me, because I was so honest that I admitted to stealing $100 from David, and David forgave me, and I get to keep the $100. Is that how life works?
And I keep stealing, right?
Well,
maybe,
yeah,
but no. What was it that was it Nicodemus approached Jesus, and he had defrauded people, and he had a conversion of heart. What did he tell Jesus? I will pay back fourfold what I have defrauded other people from. He was sincere. How do you know he was sincere? Because he took responsibility and he was willing to pay the price and make amends.
Yeah.
So if I steal, according to the Bible, if I steal $100 from David, and I'm really sorry for it, I have to pay him. I have to pay $400 back to him in compensation.
Okay, guys,
I don't get off scot-free.
Yeah, I have a question for you. I keep hearing this message on social media that if a woman is mature, she will be accountable, she will take responsibility. But let's be realistic here. How likely is she actually to? And I know Steve is laughing because we spent a lot of time talking about this topic. How likely, in reality, are women willing to actually take responsibility for their own actions and even regulate their own emotions? I mean,
I'm not seeing it. I mean, I'm kind of tying back into the last point, but this still applies. What I see a lot, especially when talking about how do we treat women who are claiming to be repenting of their previous ways, I see oftentimes the examples of the women that Jesus talked about or talked to, worked with. But there's a key piece of those interactions that gets left out. There's the example of the woman at the well, and it's just Jesus went out of his way to meet this woman, and and she repented and all of that. I'm like, that's good. What part of that am I not hearing you interact with, that you're kind of just sort of letting out? In all of those encounters, Jesus said, I'm forgiving you, which he told every one of his followers that they should do. Every one of those people that he talked to, he said, go and do and sin no more. you have to make from the claim that I am repenting of everything that I have done in the past, and I am going to endeavor to not do those things again. That's the spirit that is the actual Christian spirit. What I'm seeing oftentimes is, well, I just have to say I repent of those things, and then I am done. I'm good. I've repented of my sins. I'm fine. I don't have to do anything else.
Exactly. They don't need to prevent
Je-
themselves from sinning again. Yeah.
Jesus will forgive me of those things. At the end of time, I'll be fine. And I'm like, well, maybe. But what I can tell you is that he often told people, I am forgiving you. I see no sin in you now. And I'm going to tell you after I say that, go and sin no more.
So
Well-
okay. Go ahead, Steve, and then I'll go.
Okay, David's not Catholic. I'm Catholic. So I'm not going to get into who's right debate here. I'm just going to say Catholics have confession. So what is confession? Now, I'm not going to quibble. Yes, we confess it, hopefully anonymously, to a priest who's acting in the position in persona Christi, as in the person of Christ. So it's not confession to a man, it's actually confession to God. But speaking it, there's psychological implications here.
Yep.
So what in confession, and I don't care what kind of Christian you are, these things exist no matter what your faith is. Maybe you have a different thing. Confession, speaking it. Contrition, being sorry for it. Absolution, being forgiven for it. And penance, doing something in compensation. So, okay, in confession, you know what? Just let's look at the basics. You go, Father, I've sinned. I did this, I did that. I'm trying to do better. You actually speak it out of your mouth. That's therapeutic. You actually acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Speaking what you did is difficult. That requires humility. Speaking outside, knowing it up here, not so much humility. Then you'll get some advice. But to speak it, you actually have to be sorry for what you did to receive absolution, forgiveness. Oh, you're a Protestant. I confess things just to Jesus. Okay, great, fine. If that works for you, fine. You didn't actually speak it. So, yeah, you're kind of missing out on that forceful humility. And then, did you do any penance? Did someone assign a penalty to you? Oh,
Yeah.
The penalties are in Catholic confession are largely symbolic. Okay, but they're present. Okay, you had the contrition, you had the feeling of sorry, you spoke it. Now go say 3 Our Fathers and 10 Hail Marys. Okay, you did something. You can say, well, that's a silly thing. I don't believe in those things. I don't care. You did something. In the Protestant world, do you do anything? You know what? Maybe this is a problem. Maybe you don't have to go with the Catholic thing. I'm not saying that. I believe it, but I'm not telling you that.
Well, what I can say is there are a number of quote unquote Protestant churches, and I've alluded to them earlier today, where none of that happens. The church I go to, there's at least a confession period of a worship service, and there is a thing that is spoken publicly in front of other people. It's not necessarily you're saying your specific things, but there's enough said where it's like we get the general idea that we're all signing on to that we are sinful in this way, in these, somewhat specific ways, but not the actual details. Saying like, I'm guilty of being lustful, or, of defrauding other people in some fashion in a general sense. The exact specifics are not said, but that at least is said. I know of other churches where I'm sitting there like, are we going to do anything to say that we have not done something correctly? Or is the pastor going to be up at the front saying that, and no one does in the audience?
Mhm.
They're being told that they're forgiven, but they're not actually acting that out.
Right. So we're in agreement.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you do it, these 4 components are necessary and should exist in
Yeah.
whatever Christian faith you have. If they don't, it's to your detriment,
Mhm.
because that's why you have to go see a therapist.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yes, you go to lay on a couch and actually tell somebody what you actually did.
Mhm.
But then he says, "Oh, I understand. It's okay. He's not absolving you. And there is no penance." But in a lot of ways, modern therapy is to make up for what's lacking in the churches.
Yeah. So, who could impose rules and discipline on women to, I don't know, prevent women from sinning, but at least like maybe limit and restrain?
I have my concerns that we're past the point where an external singular figure could actually make any serious change on that front in the culture. At least in terms of any individual human being.
Yeah.
I know several other people who have said the same thing. We are living in a world that is broken and fallen, and we need a good king, and we know which good king that is. It's Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
It's the ultimate authority figure, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. But that's not going to work for a lot of people because they are so far removed from it. They don't even have we're several generations into the destruction of the old Christian value set that was a part of America, that was woven into American culture, but also in European culture as well. Even if they weren't Christian nations, they were, they had value sets in their cultures that were Christian. And most of that's been eroded. And so these people don't even have the same context for that. And so if you try and tell them that's what it is, they're going to look at it like it's a foreign tribe, essentially. It's like, oh, this is a foreign culture to me. And what I believe to be my culture, I'm going to react to it the way we have always done with this throughout history, in the tribal mindset of, this is bad. I don't want it. It's not what I know. I don't want to be changed by it. So it's if someone comes in and says, okay, I'm taking charge. Everyone's kind of messed up. I'm taking charge. I'm saying what the standards are. You're going to have a lot of resistance because there's so an individualized sense of these things. Everyone's going to have their own view of what that actually means and how to live it out. And there's going to be so much chaos over that.
David, if we look at the history of feminism, how it evolved, it only took a few nasty single women, a few witches to start it. You probably don't need that many people to like start it, at least.
Well, and
okay, ask your question again, because I came up with a good answer. Elena, what was the question?
Oh, I don't think I had any specific. Okay. So by imposing rules and discipline, who would impose rules and discipline on women to restrain them from sinning?
Oh, there's 3 answers. Fathers,
Yes.
husbands,
Mm-hmm.
circumstances.
Oh, I love that one.
If the fathers
Mhm.
don't do it, and the husbands don't or can't do it, eventually there'll be the circumstances of life
David, force
will
them.
impose
Mhm.
that. You can't escape.
Mhm.
You can choose for women, you can choose not to listen and respect your father. Okay. You can choose not to obey or respect your husband. Okay. You have free will. But
Mhm.
some point, circumstances come into play.
Yeah.
And you know what? They are so powerful that it doesn't matter what you say or how you complain about circumstances. They just are.
You can't choose them. Circumstances come for you. You can't change them, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. When with father and what Steve was the point I think that Steve was trying to make is that with father and husband, a woman can choose whether she wants to comply, whether she wants to obey them, whether she wants to listen to them and respect them. But with consequences, they're coming for all of us.
Will a father protect his daughter? Yes. Will a husband protect his wife? Yes.
Mhm.
Will circumstances protect a woman?
No.
So, gee, ladies, you have a choice. You can listen to your father, obey your father. You can obey your husband. Or obedience will be forced on you by circumstances, and circumstances is not going to protect you.
Yeah. That's a great point. Wow.
Clip that. You can put it in a short.
I am going to put it in a short, Steve. I'm definitely clipping this video all over the place. And yeah, I'm going to clip some videos for you guys for the Resurgence of Sanity YouTube channel. So watch for them as well, guys. And yeah, I think that we should wrap it up because we've been going for a while now. And I know the disciplinarian told us like an hour ago, come on. And we got into this very interesting conversation. I really enjoy these deep dive conversations with you guys. Okay, any
Hey.
final thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I like talking with David.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he causes me to think about things. We kind of operate in parallel, and I want to have more streams with David.
Oh, David, if you don't mind, you're welcome here.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. I love talking to David. We spend a lot of time whenever we gather together for family events. I enjoy talking to David too. So yeah, very very intelligent and very very interesting young man here, ladies. Like 1.5 woman is watching here.
I was gonna say, I don't even know how many would
I
be
know.
watching.
I know, right? Well, there is. I want to have hope. You know, I'm a realist. I know that it's unlikely, but I want to have hope. You know. So yeah, guys, it was fun. It was amazing show today, like usual. I really enjoy talking to you. Remember to please like, share, and subscribe. Tell us what you think in the comments, and thank you for the chat today, guys. You were on fire. It was very interesting to see how you were interacting and thinking. So please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the Resurgence of Sanity YouTube channel. I'm going to share with you their schedule here. So join them. I'll try to be there after my Pilates class as usual at 5:45 p.m. Pacific, 7:45 p.m. Central, and 8:45 p.m. Eastern. And as far as I know, you guys are doing a show about inequality, right?
Yeah, I'm leading it. It's going to be on wealth inequality. And we're talking on economics. what should be done versus the poor people and the rich people, yeah, it's going to piss off a lot of people. It's going to challenge you to think. And yeah, I've come to certain views which are unpopular. And I'm going to be criticized for it. Okay, great. If you think and you hate me and you react to me, hey, I accomplished my purpose. Because I want you to react and think. I don't care if you agree.
Yeah. The show that you did about equality, that was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. I need to rewatch the beginning because I missed it because of my class, but I'll try to catch up and watch it. And yeah, guys, follow the Resurgence of Sanity YouTube channel, please. They have awesome content for you. And we'll see you all next week. Okay, join us for other activities as well. As I mentioned before, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Tell us what you think about these topics. Even if you disagree, we appreciate the disagreement, but try to be respectful here, okay? And bring up your arguments and your reasons, okay? And we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Elena's Barre, the best place on the internet, the very best by far.